Welcome to Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast, where we explore root cause medicine, engage in conversation with functional and integrative medicine experts, and build community with like-minded health seekers. I'm your host, Amber Warren. Let's dig deeper. Hi, welcome back. Amber Warren here with Functional Medicine Foundations. I have the honor of being here today with Josiah Smith. He is a physician assistant. He graduated with his Bachelor of Science degree in PA Studies from Drexel University in 1998. And he graduated with his Master of Physician Assistant Studies in 2007. He was a medical officer with the Army National Guard and earned the rank of captain. He has been doing a lot of family practice, emergency medicine, urgent care. Found his way into functional and integrative medicine about 6 years ago. He has a number of different specialties that he claims to fame. And we are so proud to have him on our Functional Medicine Foundation's team. So he joins us coming here from Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Last year. Mm-hmm. And again, we're honored to have him.
Well, thank you.
So I'm really excited to dig into today's talk. Really, you know, Dr. Holthaus and I were talking about this in a previous episode, talking about men and women's hormonal health. And we kind of were talking about how, you know, opening the door for us in functional medicine to more of this kind of anti-aging, integrative, regenerative approach has been a very natural progression. And we've learned from practitioners like you that there's a really awesome way to add it to what we're already doing from a functional medicine foundation perspective. So we just kind of want to touch on anti-aging. I know you don't love the term anti-aging. So why is that?
Well, you think about anti-aging is so, I think, overrepresented, okay? It means so many different things to so many different people. Mm-hmm. I look at it this way. We talk about functional medicine and lifestyle medicine. It's a foundation, but there are interventions that will move the needle where just that lifestyle will not. Because as we age, it's a progressive decline in cellular function. And I like to look at it as more of an age reversal. How can we optimize at a cellular level so we can have optimal function, so we can bring the best version of ourselves every day to the world? That's the way I look at it. But we have so many insults with toxins in the environment, overeating, bad relationships, stressors. I mean, you just name it. Yeah. You can't be average today to actually feel your best.
And you can't live in a bubble. So we have to be exposed to negative people and toxins. It's also building resilience in our lives, but we have to be able to work with those things and detox them from our body. And yeah, you're spot on there. So you view aging as a disease, not just you. As a medical community, we view aging as a disease.
We do, and it's been defined. If you think conventional medicine, and we know this again from a functional standpoint, it treats symptoms, okay? You have a specialty, which is in a silo, and the body is a complex system. Right? Okay. In 2013, there were 9 hallmarks of aging that were determined through the literature. Okay. But they were still focused on certain areas. And in 2019, Dr. Sinclair out of Harvard University upped the ante and looked at those hallmarks as symptoms, okay? So aging is a biological decline of processes in the body, okay? We're all going to age. I mean, that's it. But at what pace are we going to age? Right. And it comes down to all these hallmarks being a complex system is inflammation, okay, or inflammaging, which is a low-grade chronic stress on the body, which accelerates different organ systems to age quicker than they naturally should be.
Yeah. So how do you, as a functional integrative practitioner, identify, diagnose aging?
Yeah, well,
or inflammaging.
Okay,
inflammation,
inflammaging.
Right?
So let's talk about a couple things here. Let's back up for a second.
Okay.
We talk about genetics, okay? The Genome Project realized we are all 99% have the same genetic makeup. There's a 1% differentiation in that genetic code, okay? And genes, we realize now that, again, the gene theory of even aging and that you had a family history, it was a determination that you would be stuck with an autoimmune condition, diabetes, whatever it is. That's not the case, okay? We have the ability and the power to change the phenotype or the genetic expression. So genes is like a gun, okay? The trigger are those environmental things that we have some control over. Okay, there's some things we don't, but we can change the expression, turn genes on or off, which signal positive or negative. And we have three big buckets I like to look at with genetic expression. I'm just going to keep it super simple. And if we look at it from this way, we can affect how we age. Okay, the first one is something called mTOR. Okay, this is has to do with rapamycin, and mTOR is growth in building, and we want growth. As children, we want to grow, but if there's too much stimulation in that growth, you don't have a chance to turn things off to recover. So it's a vicious cycle, and you can do that with today's obesity epidemic with eating. We eat from when we get up to when we go to bed. There's no time to digest and recover. So there's that one bucket. The other bucket is called AMPK. Okay, AMPK is the opposite. It will turn off or mute the mTOR and growth, and that is insulin sensing, human growth hormone, and if that is a longevity component. And the last one are sirtuins. These are longevity genes. There are 7. There are 5 in mammals, and these are expressions of at the cell level, like with NAD, nutrient sensing, and things like that, and how well we can enhance how long we live.
I love that. So let's start with mTOR. What are
Okay.
some of the favorite ways that you help to naturally improve mTOR and modify mTOR?
Well, first, mTOR. It's not eating from sun up to when you go to bed. That's number one. And I think the easiest actionable step anyone can take is the window you eat, okay? No matter what diet or fad you believe in, this could be a simple step where it's time-restricted eating, where you have a window. Ideally, it starts at the 12-hour mark, but if you can work on not eating anything for, say, 16 hours and compress the eating window to 8 hours, your body's going to have a chance to digest, to recover. And we talk about circadian rhythms, okay? We have biology flows with the rise and fall of the sun and the moon. Look, you see that through women's menstrual cycles,
Right.
And we do that. There's more energy expenditure in the morning, so if you eat in the morning and say just the reverse. A lot of people say, hey, we fast at noontime, last meal, say 8 o'clock at night. But if you do the reverse, you have greater energy expenditure in the morning with that eating, and say the last meal is, 4, 5 o'clock in the evening, you're going to decrease your caloric intake. You're going to give your body a greater chance to rest. But I look at it this way. It's life.
Yeah.
We have to live by the 80-20 principle. 80% of the time you're on it. The other 20%, we socialize around food. Okay. So, and I think that's important. So I think that is one simple thing that you could do from a lifestyle standpoint.
Yeah. And there's one of my favorite aspects of intermittent fasting, besides all the amazing benefits, is there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be done every day. You can get in or out. There's so much metabolic flexibility that can happen within that. And there's just a lot of different ways to approach that.
There is. And I think
intervention.
you made a perfect term, metabolic flexibility.
Yeah, I love
okay?
that term.
When, as opposed to, look, we need glucose, we can burn fats, and there's ketogenesis and all these other things. But if your body can be trained to be flexible, and you do want to have that, that piece of pizza, or, if you're going to have a little bit of alcohol, not to say alcohol is the best thing for you, because there's a lot of debate on that, right? Because that affects circadian rhythm and other things
Gut health,
contrary, in your gut, contrary to what maybe some of the lay science may say, but allows you to jump back without missing a beat.
Yeah. No, it's really important to get to that point of metabolic flexibility. How about mTOR and exercise? Can we go there?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I knew we could.
Yeah. So exercise, well, let's just get a little clarification with some mythbusters, okay? We're going to do 2 personas of 2 individuals. Let's do a long-distance runner that runs marathons and a sprinter, okay? Look at their body composition, okay? The sprinter is very muscular. Okay, and so first of all, muscle is a currency of life. It's going to burn calories quicker. It's going to take up insulin when you're taking in insulin through food, as opposed to a chronically inflamed, skinny, malnourished, muscle-wasted long-distance runner. Okay, if you look at a long-distance runner, not to say that's something everyone should be doing, but if you look at internal physiology, there's a lot of damage being done. So when we talk about exercise, I look at high-intensity interval training, and more is not always better.
Yeah.
There's overtraining, which can cause significant, that chronic inflammation we're talking about, and it can accelerate the aging process. It can affect your hormones. It can affect, it can actually, as a protective measure, you feel like you're exercising so much, but yet you still have that adiposity and that belly tear. That's cortisol. And that's a protective mechanism.
Or how about that data on overtraining, especially our endurance athletes, and leaky gut?
100%.
It's amazing data.
Yeah. And then that goes to leaky skin, leaky brain, leaky organs, and all these things. So as we age too, we lose 1% of body muscle mass. So after age 30 and the decline of hormones as we age, there's increased risk for sarcopenia, hip fractures. So variable resistance training, weights, high intensity interval training, and stretching, yoga type of things, I think are very important to be sustainable.
Yeah, balancing it out, right? We touched a little bit in one of our previous episodes on just how yoga, tai chi, Pilates, and just what it can do for mobility to prevent injuries as we age as well.
And I'll give you I practice what I preach, okay?
Yeah,
I'm going to be 53 real soon, and for the last 30 years, I don't miss a beat or a day. If I'm not working out, I'll have a 15, 20-minute stretch yoga routine.
So that's like your rest day.
Well, that's every day,
Okay.
and I will still do that on the days I work out too. It's just my morning java or coffee that gets me out of bed.
I love that.
And I always like to brag. I'm this middle-aged man that can still do splits.
That's so
and sometimes I will show off this one talent I have, and it really
you can do a
amazes people.
full splits.
Both ways.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm kind of a competitive person, so I might be working on that, and then we might have a little
we'll have a
competition in the next
sometime.
couple of
Okay,
months.
sounds good.
How about nutrition, protein, and mTOR?
Yeah.
What do you advise there?
So protein is needed for muscle building, okay? It all comes down to the amino acid composition, because there are essential, non-essential things that the body needs and doesn't need, okay? But remember, mTOR senses amino acids. And again, if there's that overstimulation, too much protein sensing, you're going to have too much growth. And that's not a good thing either. So there's a balance, okay? So if you're very active, as we get older, our protein intake and needs change based on age and gender and how active you are and exactly what you're doing. And there's varying science and thoughts on that. So that's another topic we could go down another wormhole on. But protein is important because they're building blocks of life. Remember, protein breaks down to polypeptides and then into peptides, which we may talk about, and they're signaling agents. So you need them as signals to grow and to communicate things and messages to the rest of the body.
Do you recommend supplementing amino acids in some of your patients when we're trying to stimulate mTOR?
100%. So I actually, yes. And it depends what the goals are. The collagen peptides can be an amazing benefit and additive when we are trying to enhance or reach an outcome. So yes, I think peptide supplementation, the form, how it's used, so there are different ways it can be utilized to optimize health, 100%.
I love that. Sleep. Let's touch on sleep as it plays a role in this age reversal, stimulating mTOR, optimizing body composition. I mean, hormones. We could go on and on and on.
Yeah, if you want to keep it real simple, look, sleep is overrated. I used to burn the candle both ends. I could be up 48 hours working and get through. But the older I get, I'm realizing sleep is imperative, okay? If you're looking for one thing, to prioritize sleep, okay? And it's also the routine of going to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, because we have so much stimulation, we can't calm the brain down, and that will affect recovery, heart rate variability. So sleep should definitely be prioritized. And with that, it's important to remember you don't want to eat right before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Okay, because all the energy expenditure is going towards your gut. So
I think we underestimate how much work it takes our body to digest food. It is a very energy dependent process, right? Which is why there's really cool data on intermittent fasting and gut healing. Because it's like an athlete that's always trying to train. You give the gut a break and to where it's not having to work all the time, those tissues can heal.
100%.
So yeah, sorry, I went a little bit of a different direction.
That's okay. But prioritizing sleep allows. Okay, listen. If you have weight loss resistance, for an example, if you're not getting sleep, that may be one of the barriers that's preventing you from losing weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Because remember, all the healing, repair, recovery happens at night, and we find those that are shift workers, sleep deprived, higher incidence obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, the chronic ailments that are plaguing our world right now.
Yeah. How are you? So can we touch on circadian rhythms a little bit?
100%.
Yeah. Cause I have that conversation with my patients a lot. Melatonin, cortisol, always in flux, right? We need very specific, curves of each, waking up, opening the windows, a lot of natural light with that first morning light. Don't wear sunglasses when you go for your morning walk. Get that sunlight, into your pineal gland so the body knows, make cortisol, feel awake. Don't be making melatonin right now. What are other things that you are recommending to your patients to really optimize those circadian rhythms? Because so many of our patients come to us, I can't sleep. I'm tired. Give me some to sleep. Give me some to feel better. But we live in a society where we're under fluorescent lights
all day, 24/7,
all day, and on our screens
stimulation
all night.
We can keep it real simple, okay? Yeah. Idaho during the wintertime, it's a little tough because the sun comes up so late, okay? If you want to reset your circadian rhythm, keep a rhythm of the time you get up and the time you go to bed, even on weekends.
Good.
Okay. We feel like we can catch up on weekends, but that's not how the body works. Yeah. So to reset your circadian rhythm, I think natural light first thing in the morning, if you can get it, and I get it a couple days a week when I'm able to, and there's also infrared light and some other things, but keeping it simple. Yeah. The light exposure, if you think about it, it affects vitamin D levels, okay? And vitamin D levels is not a vitamin, it's a prohormone. The vitamin D is a precursor to serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, and that serotonin affects melatonin at night for sleep. So I think natural exposure first thing in the morning, in the evening, if you can get it. It's not always possible. And keeping awake and sleep time, those are some very simple things that you can do. And also caffeine. We're big caffeine consumers. Some may be genetically slow processors of caffeine. Others may not have any issues. So caffeine intake and cutting it off maybe 2 in the afternoon would also be a consideration. So those are a couple super simple things and just a high level part of how the body works with those different hormones and neurotransmitters.
Did you know not all supplements are created equal? Supplements are not regulated by the FDA, which can lead to potential problems like supplements containing additives, fillers, or allergens. The ingredients may not be tested for toxins. The quality may not be consistent from batch to batch, to name a few. At FMF, we believe strongly in the immense health benefits supplements offer. That's why we've done the in-depth research for you, making sure you are getting the highest quality supplements possible. To learn more and purchase, go to fundmedfoundations.com/store and use the promo code podcast at checkout to save 15% off your entire order.
How about bedtime routines? When do you recommend shutting the screens off? Do you recommend the blue light blocking glasses? Do you think they work? What's your approach there in the evening?
They do. Do I have some? Yes. Do I use them on occasion? Yes.
On occasion? What?
Yeah, well,
I know. I'm known to walk into the bedroom and throw him at my husband when he's watching the show.
I have purchased more gadgets that sit in a corner sometimes, and there are some things I'm very consistent with. But no, 100%. you talk to your teenagers till you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But that bedtime routine, it's the overhead lights 100%. You do not want to overstimulate the brain to think that you're still awake. You want to naturally increase your melatonin. So yes, screen time is huge. 1 and 2 hours before you go to bed. Meal timing, dim the lights. We use salt lamps in our bedroom just so we don't have the overhead lights.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that idea. Yeah.
And also room temperature. Okay, people have different temperatures, but I find I sleep so much better when room temperature is 68 degrees, 67, somewhere right around there. Winter time's even better if the house drops down to about 62, 63.
Yeah.
You don't want to get out of the covers, and that can play a huge benefit for falling asleep.
I came across something, I can't remember what it was, but they were presenting data on like if you have a TV in your bedroom or a speaker in your bedroom or like the tiniest little light and how that can impact melatonin production at night, right? If it's just getting
100%. And we purposely do not have a TV in our bedroom.
Yeah,
and
smart.
Okay, the bedroom should only be used for sleeping and other fun activities.
Yep, other
so
fun
to
activities
speak.
at night. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's really well known. Let's talk about supplements you use to help with circadian rhythms. Are you a fan of melatonin to help people get into these more natural, better sleep-wake cycles?
It can be used 100%. As I would use it as a second line option once you try some of these other things, melatonin, and there's some, how you do melatonin. There's the oral, there's liposomal, and even rectal suppositories at significantly high doses, and even with traveling and going different time zones. It can definitely be used. But the most important thing is as we age, there is atrophy of the pineal gland, which produces melatonin. So believe it or not, we'll talk about there's some other cutting edge therapies with like peptides. It's a pretty cool buzzword that will reset the sleep cycles and enhance the pineal gland. There's one called epithalon. And there's another one called DSIP, delta sleep inducing peptide. So you can signal the pineal gland to enhance its ability to produce melatonin, because that does go down. Our deep sleep decreases with age, and that deep sleep is important for restful healing, repair, and recovery.
Right.
So, those are a couple things that could also be done.
Oh, I love that so much. Where else are you utilizing peptides in your practice?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
So many different areas.
Yeah.
But remember, you cannot replace a supplement, a hormone, or a peptide for a crappy lifestyle. Okay? People want the one magic pill or bullet that's going to transform their life or help them meet their goals. You have to have your stuff dialed in to some degree. Okay? So, but to enhance your ability to optimize your health and well-being, I believe for those that are needed, hormonal optimization. Like for myself, I'm on testosterone optimization therapy, and that definitely has made a difference.
Good.
And with the decline, there's also human growth hormone peptides that are also used, which I utilize, which can be life-changing for people. So we're not looking at increasing your levels, but effectively enhancing how well the brain chemistry functions. So it's all about enhancement and optimization, not necessarily going super physiologic or to levels that are unnatural, because I think that can be dangerous. We're just tweaking physiology so it's optimized. Those are a couple things that we utilize. And with healing, we have something called BPC 157. It's called the Wolverine peptide. There's a whole plethora of peptides that can be utilized to enhance anything from sleep, longevity, performance, sexual wellness, aesthetics, hair growth, so many different things.
How about weight loss and peptide therapy?
Oh, weight loss.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you have all those other things dialed in.
Your foundation.
Your foundations, and we know what those are. Yeah. So there are several things you can utilize. There's a real hot one called semaglutide, which Ozempic, and it has a clinical indication for weight loss. Okay, but there can be some GI side effects with that too, and some people can't use it. But it's an easy once a week injection. But there are things we talk about stacking things. So there are things you can stack that will enhance when you have your lifestyle dialed in, like semaglutide can be utilized. There are some other things. There's a peptide called DNB10, which works on the gut with leptin and ghrelin, the sensing for hunger, when we overeat, and it causes caloric restriction. So it forces the body to feel full sooner, and something very safe. And when you enhance that with some of these other things, you'll have a more profound immediate results in a shorter period of time. But at the end of the day, how are these things sustainable? Are you just going to get off, the wagon? And this, weight loss programs, it was 85, 90, 95% fail after a year.
Yep.
So, and those are all things, and you have to take into consideration.
Absolutely.
With this.
Yeah. Leptin is an interesting one. I love that. I check leptin on a lot of my new patients coming in. This concept of leptin resistance, it's interesting, and it can be really hard to move that needle. I didn't know there were peptides that can directly stimulate.
There are
leptin.
some other failed drugs that have been used. Then I'm not, against utilizing prescription therapeutics. There's a time and a place.
Absolutely.
Not always my first go-to, but there are some drugs like metformin, for instance, as an we call it anti-aging. Something called the TAME trial, and how that affects, I said, AMPK.
Yeah.
And but that's one thing that can be utilized. So yeah, it's just it's all perspective, patient's goals, and what's the best approach, to addressing.
Yeah, autophagy. Can we go there?
100%.
That's kind of a hot buzzword right now.
Sure.
Time-restricted feeding, intermittent fasting can definitely help with autophagy, and it fits really nicely into this concept that we're talking about of age reversal. So how do you educate and induce autophagy in your patients?
Autophagy, well, if you think about it, everything slows down as we age. Cells have a pre-programmed lifespan, like a red blood cell is 90 days. I mean, every cell in the body, there's a different lifespan. But once you get towards the end of that lifespan, autophagy, it's the body's supposed to consume its cell-programmed death, and you get new cells. And as we age, these cells linger a lot longer than they should.
Right.
And again, we like to use the term zombie cells, okay? Like the zombie apocalypse. If you get by a zombie, you just produce more zombies. So now you have more zombies than you do humans. So they are hanging out, they're accumulating, not going away, and it causes, again, that inflammation, that low-grade inflammation. So, time-restricted eating, fasting mimicking diet can get rid of that. But there are things called senolytics. Okay, these are cutting-edge therapeutics, like rapamycin is one, which is used for organ rejection. So, if you needed an organ transplant, that's one of the drugs that is used. But at a very low dose, it's found to be, it gets rid of these zombie cells quicker. And there are some other more natural substances like quercetin, fisetin, which
what does
also,
quercetin not do?
I know,
Can we
right?
be honest? Like, oh my goodness, it's such an amazing, powerful.
Yeah. So, and if you think about accumulation, if you have joint aches and pains, and if you do, you don't want to continually, be on a senolytic once a week, once a month, and rotating through. So like those that have advanced osteoarthritis, that accumulation of cells, because we're finding osteoarthritis is potentially an autoimmune condition too. Think about it, as opposed to wear and tear, which does play a component. But senolytics can help reverse aging process, that inflammation that's causing pain, autoimmune. I mean, just so many different things.
That's amazing. Going back to intermittent fasting autophagy, I'm really impressed. A lot of it's not really new data, but some of the statistics on intermittent fasting and cancer, right, are doing a 48-hour water fast prior to chemotherapy, and how that protects your good cells from the damage. From the work that the chemotherapy is trying to do, or even like a 7-day water fast, and how it can decrease your risk of cancer. And that's all autophagy, right?
Yeah, it is, yes, but there are some other caveats to that. To sustain even a 7-day water fast during cancer is probably not sustainable for most people. And
not during cancer. Sorry, that was preventative. That was speaking preventative,
and you may lose muscle mass and nutrients. And, I think the basic thing with the time restricted eating, could you do intermittent fasting? I think the definition is being without food for 24-hour period of time.
Yeah.
But there are some other food therapeutics, and we can talk about this briefly if we want to talk about fasting, even like what mimics a water fast is something called prolonged. Dr. Longo, he studied centurions in a lot of the blue zones, and he's been publicly funded hundreds of millions of dollars to research where you can have calories still, but the body senses them as not being calories, but actually a fast, and have the same benefit and effects without starvation or loss of muscle mass. So,
because that concept of not eating for a prolonged period of time is can be really overwhelming for our patients and uncomfortable, especially in today's society.
Right.
Go without food? What?
Right.
So I think this Prolon and some of these new therapies are really interesting and for our patients. So speak a little bit. So tell us a little bit more about Prolon.
Prolon, again, prolonging longevity. That's exactly what that is. And from the clinical side, they have 20 clinical research studies of cancer, type 2 diabetes. There's some with some autoimmune conditions. So when you go through a fast, remember we talk about that rest, repair, recovery. You're giving your body a sense of rest, recovery, and again, towards the end, it affects inflammatory markers, the autophagy we talked about. It affects human growth hormone, and that will continue even after the 5 days. And studies have shown it's helped with like CRP, which is a blood test for low-grade inflammation.
That we test on almost everybody.
That's correct. Weight circumference, systolic blood pressure, triglycerides. So that in itself, you could, under supervision, if it's medically appropriate, because there are some contraindications, it can make a huge impact and like a reset, whether it's done once a month for 3 months or once a quarter, if you don't want to do anything else.
Yeah, that's great. It's awesome data. We were talking offline a little bit, and I honestly, this is very new to me, about some tests that we can do to check true age in our patients. Tell me more.
Well, let's have a conversation. These are definitions through what is, first of all, chronological age. That's your birthday candles. My birthday's coming up. I have 53 birthday candles coming up. I'm proud to say almost 53.
It honestly doesn't matter. You can do the splits both ways. I don't put an age to that. That's amazing.
That. But here's the thing. So that's your birthday candle. Now you can measure, and this is through methylation, Dr. Hovarth, and there's some others where you can measure biological age, which is your internal cellular age, and that's more important. Okay.
Yes.
Because if your pace of aging, if your biological pace of aging exceeds your chronological age, which means, so like I'm age 53, but my biological age is 58, 59, there's increased risk for all-cause comorbidities, life, death, and disease processes. And it's been clinically shown that with these markers, and true age is one of them, that you can see your pace of aging. And if your pace of aging, your biological age is 7 years less than your chronological age, there's a 50% decrease of all-cause health chronic disease issues. Think about that for a second. And
Amazing.
It also can tell when you may die. Okay, some people may be like, oh, I don't want to know that. But that can be empowering because you can quantify interventions, which means these lifestyle interventions, and we know the science is there. Lifestyle interventions can reverse that biological age, couple years. Some of these other therapeutics and, diets and, peptides, DHEA, and some of these other things. If you can reverse that, how much more vibrant are you going to be? Your health span. That's and think about that. We have our lifespan. We have more people today, the last 20 years of their lives are living in disease, sickness, and pain. Yeah. Now, if you can condense that 20 years to maybe 6 months to a year and you're done, how much more vibrancy are you going to have without being chronically ill.
Yeah. Quality of life.
Right, the quality of life. And you can actually quantify these interventions. So it may be a test you could do twice a year.
Yeah.
You could get a baseline, maybe 6 months. And the cost is coming down.
Yeah, I was going to
every
ask
couple
about
years,
cost.
too.
That's obviously always
Yeah,
on
it's
someone's
usually
mind.
a couple $100s, but it's getting to...
Gosh, that's reasonable.
It is, but it's getting to the point probably in the next couple years when you can basket, multiple people with just a little finger prick
Cool.
of blood where it will become even more affordable over time.
It's kind of, we've been able to test genes like ApoE, right, for a long time that helps us assess an individual's risk of getting Alzheimer's, dementia, right, which is a big deal nowadays. A lot of my patients, when I offer it, they don't want to know, oh, that'll bring me anxiety. And I can understand that. And of course, I respect that. But it's also like knowledge is power.
100%.
And if I knew that I was high risk for Alzheimer's or genetics because I have an ApoE44, I'm probably going to focus more on my life on brain health and controlling, my insulin and blood sugar levels. That's really powerful that you can do that instead of just haphazardly kind of going through life guessing where you should focus your health intervention.
And I find it's interesting because prevention and knowing is power. So if you don't want to know and then you actually get the disease, now you're in a situation where it's going to be much more difficult to course correct when you can do it years before.
That's kind of the linch point of conventional medicine versus functional medicine, right? We wait until we get the disease, and then we, as quickly as we can, intervene. We're functional medicine, integrative medicine, regenerative, whatever you want to call it. We're looking upstream. We're trying to identify things before they happen, identify triggers and markers and components of someone's story to help prevent symptoms, disease, aging, right? Sorry, I used the word. I use the word you don't like. I'm sorry.
That's fine. But I think it all comes down to, as opposed to looking for the easy answer, the magic pill, the quick fix, it's taking personal responsibility as opposed to pushing it off to someone else. Absolutely. To be self-resilient, self-reliant. I look at it this way. My position, I'm a coach, okay? The doctor of the future, and Sachin Patel, he's a functional medicine practitioner out of Canada. He said the doctor of the future is not me; it's the patient.
Oh, absolutely.
And 80% of the decisions come from lifestyle. Okay, and if you can be empowered to make changes, you will be a beacon on a hill, almost like a lighthouse. You will be an example to others, to your community of influence. They'll be like, there's something different about you. You're more energetic, vibrant. You have more vitality. But again, when you come to see us, we have other things we can offer, but most of it is in the hands of ourselves individually by taking personal responsibility.
Yeah. I have a lot of patients that, come back and see me 3, 4, 6 months into their protocols. Thank you so much. You finally fixed my fatigue. You finally got my gut healed my gut. And I'm like, I didn't do it. You did the work. I was just guiding you.
Right.
Like, I just have been so blessed to have learned from some amazing, amazing functional medicine practitioners and researchers and scientists. And just I'm in this position where we can just guide people on their health journey. It's an honor. It really is an honor. I like to end each one of my conversations, interviews with this question. If there's one, and this is difficult, but if there's one piece of advice that you can offer your patient that can make the biggest impact in their health, what is it?
Well, and I reflect this at my journey in life right now. Years younger, not knowing, being able to thinking I could burn the candle at both ends, and sleep, is not important.
Yeah.
I could get 3-4 hours in function. I could when I was younger.
Yeah.
But the older I get, I realize how important it is. And so many people do not get the sleep they need. Yeah. And in the last 20, 30 years, we have decreased sleep overall by about 30 minutes to an hour. And that impacts the quality of our life,
dramatically.
Our resiliency, and our ability, again, to wake up, feel refreshed. And again, who doesn't want to bring the best version of themselves to the world? There's more to it than that. But I think if there's one takeaway, prioritizing optimizing sleep, some of those things that we discuss about timing, going to bed, getting up about the same time, optimizing the circadian rhythms when you eat, sunshine exposure, last meal of the day, keeping the room temperature a little cooler, lights, not having, you're looking at your iPhone right before you go to bed.
Yeah,
and again,
huge.
there are some simple strategies you can do. It's being consistent with it. And I think once you, at 30 days, are consistent, so it takes 30 days to entrain the brain for forming habits.
Yeah.
There will be a huge difference in, I think, just how you feel energetically, physically, mentally, and even emotionally.
Yeah. We know a little bit too much to be dangerous, to think we can get away with not as much sleep as functional medicine providers, right? We nerd out on the science. And when you look at the science of sleep-deprived individuals, it's like, oh my goodness, don't put me in that camp. Thank you. This has been such an awesome conversation for me. I'm so excited. You're offering some really just exciting, revolutionary things within our practice that we really can't wait to announce. So stay tuned for further episodes on other things Josiah is doing from a regenerative functional medicine approach. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast. For more information on topics covered today, programs offered at FMF, and the highest quality of supplements, and more, go to funmedfoundations.com.